So how are you feeling about President Trump's inauguration? I imagine that a lot of you are feeling pretty good. Maybe you'll be feeling a little bit better after I tell you exactly how Trump is starting the reversal process of some of the anti-gun policies that Biden put in place, but he's doing it in the most Trump way possible, trolling them a little bit as they get the hell out of Washington.
Yeah. Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so. I don't think so.
There's a lot of great stuff that I plan on covering in the next 4 years when it comes to how Trump handles the Second Amendment this time, right? So I expect there to be quite a big contrast. But I love the things that he did on day one when it comes to kind of sending a message to Second Amendment activists and people that care about this right, like, hey, I'm here for you. I got your back. So I'm excited to share these details, and I'd love to see what is like one of the biggest things that you want to see, or maybe the biggest thing you want to see President Trump do in the next 4 years when it comes to gun rights. Love to hear that down below. Maybe you're somebody that is not a fan of firearms, but there could be something in this video that maybe it'll change your mind. Who knows? However you're feeling, whatever your opinion is, leave that down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, it's no secret that Biden was not a friend when it came to the Second Amendment, but he really went farther. He went a lot farther than I think what a lot of people expected. And it wasn't just the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. It was him having a dedicated office for gun violence prevention, which was led by none other than Kamala Harris. And essentially, this office was meant to kind of not really write new legislation, but push forward, make sure that the things that are in the Safer Communities Act are getting enacted. So, for instance, principals across the nation would actually promote safer storage to parents, a backdoor way of getting principals involved into a supercharged political stance where there's going to be a lot of parents, if they get something from a principal of their school about gun safety and keeping their firearms locked up, they're going to be wondering, why the hell are you worried about this and not worried about taking care of the school? Why aren't you worried about making the school safer instead of worrying about what I do inside of my household? Now, I'm not saying that everybody would react like that, but surely I'm positive that some parents actually did. People like Stephanie Feldman, maybe not a name that is known to a lot of people, but she was the director of this White House Office of Gun Prevention, and I tell you what, I'm glad to see her get the hell out of Washington because she is absolutely ruthless in her pursuit to see people's rights stripped away from them. And amongst other things, she wanted to see the liability protection for gun manufacturers to be stripped away from them. She would actually give President Biden a heck of a lot of ideas that he would then spout later on. And I assume that a good bit of his anti-gun rhetoric actually came straight from her. Now, there was actually a letter from Chairman Comer that actually involved, I don't know if it was so much Stephanie Feldman, but it was the Office of Gun Violence Prevention as a part of this Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, where they actually got involved in the Glock lawsuit in a way. So essentially subpoenas were handed to that Office of Gun Violence Prevention to see why records weren't turned over when the Oversight Committee asked for them, because they had a behind-the-scenes meeting with representatives from Glock in which they asked Glock to redesign their pistol. And Glock said, hey, there's nothing we can do to help you there. If people are taking our pistols and illegally modifying them, you go after the people that are illegally modifying them. You have, 65, 70, 75% of law enforcement using our guns, an equal amount of private citizens that own our guns and don't do anything. They don't illegally modify any of them. So you need to be going after the bad actors, not going after us, asking us to redesign your gun. The only positive I could see that could come from that is maybe them actually talking Glock into like an actual redesign. Not so much focused on auto sears and stuff like that, but actually a new design Glock, right? Change it up. It's been like 40 years, boys. Regardless, it's nice to see people like that get out of there. Also, ATF director, right? He stepped down before Trump was even inaugurated, so he didn't try to step up. And I made a whole video about this, so I won't rehash all that, but it was quite glorious to see him also get out of there. He took one last shot at Trump, but at the end of the day, who really cares? He's gone. But the ATF shut down more FFLs than they had since like 2005. So 2023, they did, I think, 173. 2024, 194. You may say, oh, well, these gun shops were breaking the law. Well, that's not necessarily the case. It's like simple errors that are made with paperwork, and because of things like that, they would be shut down. So they would go to gun stores that they saw as higher risk and essentially probe through every piece of paper that these people had in order to find some kind of error and shut them down. You're talking about taking people's livelihoods away. It's not just shutting down a store, right? Remember a couple years ago with the pistol brace ban, right? This is all under Biden and ATF's directive, right? And so it went beyond just legislation. They actually went after gun owners themselves, tried to scare a bunch of people that legally owned a piece of plastic into now registering that firearm in order to, again, get them on some type of registry. To me, I think it was their plan all along. They saw the pistol brace. They said, oh, yeah, this thing's totally fine. And then get tens of millions of them into people's hands and all of a sudden say, yeah, no, actually you got to register those things, or you can destroy them, whichever you prefer. Enhanced background checks for 18 to 20-year-olds. We're talking about adults here that can go serve in the military, fight, and die for our country, and yet in order for them to buy some kind of gun in the United States now, they have to go through extra processes, right? And they also can have red flag laws implemented against them if they find anything that they deem as a potential risk. Trying to shut down the so-called gun show loophole, essentially providing money for red flag laws, enhanced background checks. The biggest goal of the Biden administration, in my opinion, was to create a registry. It only makes sense when you look at the way they use the ATF and that office and that bill specifically. They wanted a registry. They wanted to make more people become FFLs and be stricter on those FFLs, revoking licenses, but they wanted to get more people's names in a database, right? So they can know exactly who they're dealing with. And the pistol brace fiasco was one of the biggest ways in which they wanted to create some kind of backdoor registry. Unfortunately, they were stopped short. The Federal Gun Control Group has been shut down, right? We voted them out. And so I was looking at the White House Office of Gun Prevention website, and I saw error 404. I couldn't pull up a single article from anything they've done, any statements they've made, nothing. The Gender Policy Council, yes, there was one of those at the White House under Biden, error 404, nothing. So it's just a simple little nod to gun owners, like, hey, I heard you, I promised you. This is just one step towards knowing that it's going to be the expansion of rights, and that's what we want to see. And I fully expect very soon that we will have some kind of news from Trump on expansion of rights, whether it's concealed carry reciprocity or any number of things that he actually does for gun owners, because gun owners were a big part of him actually winning. But I love the little kind of trolling the last administration as they go out the door and the little subtle way in which he did it. To me, it's fantastic and a sign of things to come. And of course, I will keep you guys updated as more things come out from Trump, and of course other stories and gun reviews that I do right here on the channel. So if you like that type of content, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave your opinion down below. See y'all in the next one, and as always, hold 'em down.